So here we want to solve triangle PQR, and we're asked to solve a triangle. It means we've got to find the 6 pieces of information. I think it's a good strategy when you're starting these is to actually write down what you're given. So we've got angle P, angle Q, angle R, and little p is the length of side P, little q, length of side Q, and little r, the length of side R. So P we don't know, so that's the angle there. Q we do know, that's equal to 100 degrees. R we don't know. Now opposite Q, that's the length of side Q, so that's 35 meters. Opposite P is side P, we don't know. And opposite angle R is side R, and that is 21 meters. So we can't use our sine, cos and tan because it is not a right angle triangle. We've got a 100-degree angle there, so these two are going to add up to 80. So we can't use sine, cos and tan, can't use Pythagoras. So we're going to fall back on our sine rule. In the sine rule, you need to have 3 of the 4 pieces of information. So if we have a look here, we've got 3 of the 4. So we're going to use Q over sine Q. Is equal to R over sine R. So we quote the rule first. We then substitute the values. Q is 35 over sine of 100 equals R is 21 over sine R. Now, there's a number of ways we can rearrange this, and I'm just going to show you a method now called the cross method. If you have a single fraction, so let's just go over here a bit. If you've got A over B equals C over D, if you put a cross through the equals and you multiply along there, you get AD. And if you multiply along that arm of the cross, you get BC. Well, they actually happen to be equal. It only works when you've got a single fraction and a single fraction. So if you had 1 plus A over B equals C over D, you can't use this method here. So you'll have to find some other way to simplify that. So it only happens when you've got a single fraction, you can use the cross method. So we'll put our cross through the equals and we will multiply. Now it does not matter which arm you do first, but since we're trying to find that, I'm going to multiply through that arm first. So 35 times the sine of R equals, now I'm going to go that way, you could go that way or that way, but as I said before, you need to put the number, it's always best to put the number in the front. So 21 sine of 100. Put it at the back and you've got sine of 100 then times 21, so you can easily get confused. That's the sine of 100 times 21, which is not correct. You want 21 times the sine of 100. Now we want to get R or sine R by itself, so we've got to isolate this. So the best way to do that is to divide both sides by 35. Because what that will do is cancel those 1 and 1, and that'll give us sine R equals 21 sine of 100 over 35. And if you like, that will be on your calculator 0.5909. Now it's probably best at this stage as an intermediate stage to keep as many decimal places as possible, not go to 2 decimal places. And we know that if we know the sine, we can use the inverse function for sine. Let me just bring back where I was writing here. Okay. Because we've got sine r is equal to 0.5909, we can say that the angle r equals the angle whose sine is 0.5909. And we can put that in our calculator and we'll get 36. Now we can do our 2 decimal places, 36.22 degrees. Okay, so that's fitted in one of our pieces of our puzzle that we're trying to do. So we know that angle R is 36.22, and we know that 3 angles add up to 180 degrees, so they will add up to 180. So we can say that angle P, so we've got 2, so angle P equals 180 minus 100 minus 36.22 degrees, and that will be equal to 43.78. So we can put that value in, 43.78. So we've still got the length of side P to calculate. Now what we can do is we can use the sine rule again. And maybe we should just use another color here. So we're trying to find P here. And if we just use P and Q in the sine rule, we've got 3 of the 4. So it'll allow us to work out the 4th one. So let's go back to a black pen. And we've got P over sine P equals Q over sine Q. That should be lowercase q, shouldn't it? And we're going to have to go back up there and get some values. So P is equal to, we're trying to find P over the sine of 43.78 equals Q, which is 35, over sine of 100. Once again, we can use cross multiplication. And because I am trying to find P, I'm going to do it in this direction here first. So we've got P sine 100 equals 35 sine of 43.78. Now we've got that's better, behave. We want to find P by itself, so we divide both sides by sine 100. The reason we divide by that is that allows us to get P by itself, because that's 1 and that's 1. P times 1, so you get P over 1, which is just P, equals 35 sine of 43.78 all over sine 100. And when we work that out, we'll get 24.59 meters. Okay, so that's using the sine rule to work out an angle, then working out the sine rule to work out the length of a side. So 24.59 Now, one thing you should check before you actually go through and say, okay, that's the answer. One is that the three angles add up to 180 degrees, and yes, they do. So if you add those three up, we get 180 degrees. And the other thing to look at is to see that the biggest side's opposite the biggest angle. So 100 is the biggest angle, and by the look of it, 35 meters is the biggest side. The next biggest angle is 43.78, and that is bigger than R, which is only 21. It's 24, so it's smaller than Q, but it's bigger than R. This is the smallest angle, and it also has the smallest side opposite it. So that's a good little mental check at the end to make sure that you've got the right answer. So state your answer nice and clearly, not with all circles and that around like I've got it here. If you get the idea that your answer should be very clear when you're asked to solve, you should have all 6 measurements clearly stated in your question.